think that people really trust their leaders. They don't really believe that whatever their leaders say that they're going to do, that they're going to deliver on it. They don't really believe that the leaders really want to deliver on it. I think most of the people in Nigeria really feel that the leaders are there to pad the pocketbook. Okay? Now, whether that's true, I don't know. I didn't get a chance to interview the leaders. So I really don't know. Also, patriotism. He says patriotism is a serious problem. He mentioned the fact, and this seems to be true, when you talk about America, you talk about anybody, many other countries, they love their country. They'll do anything for their country. They'll fight for their country. And we ask the question, how many Nigerians really lay down their life for their country right now? They'll do it for their tribe. They do it for their religion. But for the country, they're not quite so sure. He feels that a lot of people really sell the country down the river too often to say that they are that patriotic. Now that seems to be a criticism, but for me, most things that people write like this, I can understand. I can understand why there isn't the kind of patriotism that we, let's say, experience here. To me, I see Nigeria as more of a geographic expression. It delineates a landmass. It's not a cohesive nation. The nation divided along tribal lines. That's where the loyalties are. And it wasn't their doing. Somebody else drew these lines and said, this is going to be the boundaries of your country. Okay? And I think that's very important. I think when people do things for themselves, they have a sense of belonging. They have more of a sense of where they really want to go. Another problem that this person says is in Nigeria is indiscipline. The people are not very disciplined. But I agree, I can understand why. When I was in Maiduguri, you go to the bank to present your check to the teller. Everybody's crowding around. There is no line. Well, they want to get waited on. People in high positions, they don't have to wait in line. They can go to the bathroom and they can get that one. Do you see the inequities there? So you can understand why they want service just as quickly as the next person, but they don't have the opportunity to do that. So usually in most of these problems, I see there is a reason for them. It's not that it's just the nature of the people not to be this. And now this last one, I'm not quite sure, but Nigeria has a serious reputation as an international one that corruption reigns supreme. I don't know if all of you have heard that, but if you're talking about the people in Nigeria, the first thing they will tell you, everything is corrupt. Okay? So how much corruption there is, I wasn't corrupt, so I don't know. Okay, let's see some of the solutions the government has presented to solve some of these problems. I told you how they want to solve the problems of the people moving to the urban areas. About the population explosion, they have a minister of health who is supposed to be a really good man. Everybody honors him. Everybody respects him. He has good views. He suggested or issued an edict that we want to do something about this population explosion. Not that we don't want the people, but we just really want to be able to feed ourselves. We want to keep our population to a level that we can control. We can take care of ourselves. We don't want to have to be dependent on outside people. Okay? So he said, well, the way we can do this is for ladies to, let's say, limit themselves to 4 children each. Now here we say 4 children, that's huge, right? 4 children. Okay. But his idea was every woman should have 4 children. You see how we would do? We almost cut the population in half. And you would still have your children that you love. You would think that the women would have met that with great applause. But no, there was a hue and cry. How dare you say that? Limit ourselves to 4 children? But then just listen to the reason. I think it's logical, the reason they say that. They say, you are limiting women to 4 children. What about men? You are not limiting men to 4 children. Well, you say, well, why is that? Well, in Nigeria, polygamy is practiced. A man can have 2 wives, 3 wives, 4 wives. I think they go up to about 7 wives if they want, if they can afford them. Okay? So if the women have 4 children, why a man has 5 wives, how many children the man has? Okay? So it really wasn't very fair. All right. Some men do have a lot of children. In fact, I was in the north, and the north is an area where polygamy is really widespread. There's nothing to have people in families with 40 sisters and brothers, okay? 50 children, and they're very proud of that. Okay, it's nothing wrong with it. All right, now, let's see something else the government is trying to do to solve some of these problems. The government is trying to introduce a program that will cause the people to be self-sufficient. Okay? Somebody has asked me, do you have this in Nigeria? Or do they have whatever? In Nigeria, you can find anything you can find anywhere else in the world. Okay? It's really, as far as if you deal with material goods, it really could be listed as one of the modern countries of the world. But the problem is all of these modern things that they have in Nigeria are imported. Okay? And that's a problem. You can't always bring the things that are very expensive into your country. And there's nothing going on. Okay? So the government has put a ban on importations. Things that are very, things that they really want to get to reduce the Nigerians' taste. You know, they've had an oil boom. The people have built so very well. They are accustomed to imported this and imported that. And they still want those things because that's what they were raised. Many of them were reared on. Okay? So the government now is saying you can't import this. You have to learn how to make it yourself. If you want it, you learn how to make it yourself. And I think that's a good idea. Of course, all ideas don't necessarily work the way you expect them to work. You have to have some kind of way to set up incentives to make sure that people do it. Okay, so that's one thing. Because we have put a ban on importations and the naira, that's the currency, has been evaluated, things are very, very high. One thing that really strikes me is being so expensive. Even in Nigeria, the cities and where the people live were geared toward the use of an automobile because they always had automobiles. The same as if we have automobiles now, so we can go out to the shopping center. Suppose all at once there were no automobiles. How would you get to the shopping centers? Okay? Automobiles are very expensive. You know the little Volkswagen Beetle? If you want one, you're going to pay about $27,000 to $30,000. That's a lot of money. Okay? But another kind of car that is very popular in Nigeria is the push-up. If you want one of those, you're going to pay about $57,000 to $60,000 now. You say, okay, well, you can pay that. But when you think about the salaries, you'll never be able to own a car because the cost is just so high. All right. Let's see what else I want to talk about. I want to talk a little bit about the characteristics of the people. The people are just most delightful. It was just a delight for me to think that these are my sisters and my brothers. I used to tell them that, you know, I am almost as African as you. You are here and I'm there just by an accident.